Hey everybody, in this 5 Parsecs from Home video, I'll be playing the 8th turn for my campaign. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and 5 Parsecs from Home is the sci-fi solo adventure war game written by Ivan Sorensen and published by Modiphius Entertainment. I'll do my usual story recap, show the state of my crews, do my pre-game rolls, play my battle, and then do my post-game rolls. Now let's get to the bricks and blocks of turn 8 for my campaign. After traveling to the Korvar cluster and joining Talfo Yaris and his resistance group that's trying to take down Galactic Solutions, Gibbs renegades discovered a small army of some sort of mutant insects that Galactic Solutions has created. They were being stored in shipping containers on the dwarf planet Korvar Gamma. After a battle with port security, the crew was able to destroy most of the shipping containers before reinforcements caused them to leave. After examining the corpse of one of the creatures, Talfo's team was able to track some of their cybernetic augmentations to a factory on Korvar Delta, which is the largest of the asteroids that hovers above Korvar Gamma, where they had their last battle. While Dr. O stays behind to install some upgrades into Charlie's armor and combat systems, the rest of Danik's crew leaves to destroy this factory. Gibbs renegades have 1 patron, no rivals, 9 credits, 4 story points, 2 rumors, and Tess is completely paid off and free of any hull damage. Dr. O still has his hand laser with the stun attachment, a military rifle, and is wearing the displacer that he hasn't made use of yet. And after fighting in the starport battle, he has 6 experience points. Red Joran, however, wasn't in the firefight and has no experience points currently. He's wearing stealth gear and carrying his auto rifle with the bipod, which is a permanent modification. However, since sights can be removed, he's swapped the tracker sight for the new seeker sight the crew bought last turn, which will give him +1 to hit if he doesn't move that round. And he's also equipped the grapple gun that's just been sitting on Tess since the start of my campaign. And the tracker sight was moved to Baffy's auto rifle, giving him +1 to hit a target that he shot at in the previous round, and he has a machine pistol and a screen generator, and has 1 experience point after increasing his reaction stat to 2. Beldara has a screen generator, a blast pistol, and her rattle gun with the nano sludge modification, and she is expecting to take down some enemies after increasing her combat skill to +1, leaving her with 1 experience point. After getting sliced up by one of the bugs in the last battle, Ugrok has swapped his colony rifle for a slightly longer ranged military rifle from their stash, so he can keep his distance this battle. But he still has his shatter axe and combat armor just in case. He has 4 experience points. Captain Danik Krall has 5 experience points. He's carrying his blast rifle with the quality sight, increasing the weapon's range and allowing rerolls of 1s. His hand cannon with the laser sight, giving it snap fire, and a machine pistol just in case. And his combat armor is currently damaged due to the character event at the end of the last round. And for Charlie, well, let's just say Dr. O has some upgrades he's working on for the team's resident bot. So my crew will not be traveling, as they'll be staying here in the Korvar cluster. For upkeep, they only have to pay 1 credit because Ugrok is in sickbay, and so we'll go to assigning crew tasks. The crew needs to figure out their next job that their patron Talfo Yaris is going to send them on. So they're sending this through a decrypted message that Charlie is going to try to pick up with his communication sensors. So for Charlie to correctly decipher this message, he needs to get at least a 5 total with a +1, and he gets it. And since that result was a 6 or higher, not only did they receive a job from Talfo Yaris, but they received a 2nd job from a potential new patron as well. Next, Danik and Baffy are both going to go trading. Danik gets a 67 and Baffy gets 6. So Danik has received a hot tip about something, gaining 1 more quest rumor. And Baffy just sold some extra stuff they've got laying around their ship for 2 credits. At the end of my last battle, for my character event, Danik Krall's combat armor ended up getting broken, so Dr. O is going to try to fix that. 1d6 plus 3 savvy and 1 for the repair bot the ship has. but he gets just a total of 5. But actually, a natural 1 means it always fails, and the item is beyond fixing. I don't want to lose this, so I'm going to go and spend a story point to re-roll that. Anything but a 1 will help. Alright, it's repaired. During my crew tasks on turn 6, I'd found a damaged insta-wall, so Rhett is going to try to repair that. He's got a total of +3 with his savvy and the repair bot, but also rolls a natural 1. Well, I haven't been using a lot of story points for much else, and this item seems pretty cool, so we're going to use a story point to re-roll that for a total of 6, and it's fixed. I'll give that to Baffy, and that allows him once per mission to use a combat action to place a 2-foot-long force wall anywhere within 3 inches of him. It's man height, it's impenetrable to attacks, but does not block line of sight, and at the start of each subsequent round, there's a chance that it will dissipate. Ugarak doesn't get to do anything because he was hanging out in sickbay. He is now out of there and can participate in the battle. And then lastly, Beldara has been missing a lot of her shots in the last couple battles. At the end of the last battle, I increased her combat, so to represent that, I'm having her go training, to go do some firing at the gun range, working out in the gym, and she'll gain 1 experience point. Next, I'll determine my job offers. I did receive a job from Talfo Yaris, and then I received one from a new patron. I'm actually not even going to bother rolling up the result for the new patron, as my plan is to just be working for Talfo Yaris while I'm here in the Korvar cluster. So going through the different tables, I don't need to re-roll what type of patron he is because I already know that he is a private organization. For danger pay, I believe I do need to re-roll this every turn. And it'll be a 10, which is pretty great, +3 credits, and roll twice, picking the higher die when rolling for mission pay after the battle. I'm not going to bother rolling for the time frame because I'm going to take this mission no matter what, and there's no potential rivals that could thwart my plans. For benefits, hazards, and conditions, one thing to keep in mind is that benefits are always the same every time I take this patron, and I had rolled fringe benefit for him, which gives me an additional loot at the end of the battle, but I do need to roll new hazards and conditions. For the hazard, 8, and the condition, also 8. And no matter what kind of patron you have, an 8 always means that those will be there. So the hazard will be a 2, and the condition, an 8. Well, both of these make sense. I rolled really well for my danger pay, and this is a dangerous job. Increase the enemy force by +1. And busy, if the mission is a success, the patron offers a new job next campaign turn, which makes sense because I'm doing a lot of work for Talfo Yaris here. And even though I'm planning to do this job for Talfo, I need to figure out if I've got a quest that I will be offered as well. I have 3 rumors now, so on a 3 or less, I'll be offered a quest, and I am. So any future rumors I get will go toward that quest, but I'm not going to go on a quest now because I am going to do this job for Talfo Yaris. But I'll just point out really quick, one of the benefits of doing quests is when you complete the final stage, your characters gain some bonus experience points, and it was pointed out to me that that's something I actually forgot when I completed turn 6, was I should have given my guys some bonus experience points that I totally forgot about, so I'll count that as lost this time, and if I take another quest, I'll try to remember it. Next, I'll determine the battlefield conditions for this mission. 37. For a patron job, that is no condition. Now for notable sites. 13. 13 is nothing special. Now to figure out what my objective is. 6. I don't believe I've done one of these yet. A secure mission. Alright, this is like King of the Hill. I have to spend 2 consecutive rounds with one of my crew members within 2 inches of the center of the table, and no enemy can be within 6 inches of them for that round to count. And of course, if I defeat them all, I'll win. Now to determine the enemy encounter category. 70. We have interested parties, and specifically 93. Well, this is fitting for the secure objective. A salvage team, +1 to their numbers, they panic easily. Speed of just 4, no combat skill, a toughness of just 4, and they're cautious, which means they'll kind of hang back. They won't really try to charge in. So apparently whatever they're looking for here, they're not willing to die for. Essentially, a rival crew is looking for salvage and ready to fight for it. I get to roll twice on the battlefield finds table if I complete my objective. And for interested parties, I add +1 when rolling for unique individuals, and if this was a quest mission, there could potentially be more enemies. So my usual rules for rolling how many there are: 1s and 2s will equal 3, 6s will equal 5, and there's going to be +2 to this, +1 for their normal salvage crew, and +1 for the condition. So that will be 5 + 2, so 7 enemies. And then I'll roll to see if there's a unique individual. A total of 10 + 1 for the interested parties is at least 9, so there will be a unique individual. And next I'll roll up the weapons of the salvage team. For their standard soldiers, 3, and the specialists, 6. And with columns 2 and B, that gives the standard soldiers military rifles, but those 2 specialists are going to have rattle guns. And a post-production note, I was so focused on the fact there was 2 enemies with rattle guns that I completely forgot to assign one of the enemies to be the lieutenant. I realized it about halfway through the battle, so I do kind of make up for that mistake by doing something else. Now to determine the unique individual, 65. And that is a precursor wanderer. These guys are pretty strong with a speed of 7, combat skill of +2, toughness of 4. They're aggressive, they have a luck point, they're pretty well kitted out here with an infantry laser and a glare sword. And they have some special abilities. One with the flow moves before the quick action phase, which will probably throw off some of my tactics. And they have a armor saving throw of 6+. Gibbs Renegades have landed near a Galactic Solutions factory on the giant asteroid Corvar Delta, with plans of sneaking in and blowing it up. As you can see, the bioengineered creatures from the last battle are being created here and sent on conveyor belts to be packaged for shipment. And that's why the crew is here to destroy the place. However, after the attack on the starport, Galactic Solutions has increased their security, so Danik's team had to blast their way through some guards, which has given the factory workers time to arm themselves and summon their head security officer and his best troops to defend the main room of the facility. Since this is a secure mission, and the crew has to have someone stand near the middle of the board for 2 turns, I'm saying they need to plant explosives on the central pillar, and if that gets destroyed, the roof will collapse, which will then collapse into the underground levels where the bugs are being modified. Most of the crew is set up at the main entry. However, Rhett has used his newly equipped grapple gun to sneak in an upper window in an attempt to flank their opposition. In regards to my terrain, the front wall is assumed to go all the way up to the roof, so it can't be climbed over, and the pillars also go all the way up to the roof. This is going to be a dangerous mission as I'm outnumbered 8-5, and those rattle guns the security troopers have could easily prove fatal, so I need to take them out quickly. And I'll point out that while I'm using figures that look like factory workers, I'll still use the stats and everything for the salvage team that I rolled up. However, one house rule I'm making to their stats is the 2 specialists with rattle guns will be the last 2 regular enemies to flee the battle in case of panic. And I'll start the battle with attempting to seize the initiative. Rhett has my highest savvy with +2. I am outnumbered, which gives me a +1. And I forgot the last couple battles that I have a scanner bot, which gives me another +1 to my seize the initiative rolls. So a +4, needing a 10 for a total of 14. I get that. And that is really good that I won that because my crew is kind of just right out in the open out here. So they're all just going to this group anyway, is going to kind of charge in. Baffy can move 6 inches over to here. Danik can move 5 inches. They'll kind of come around here. They can't really get into good vantage points. I left this area open on purpose because why would the front end of a factory just be cluttered? And then Ugrok will run 5 inches over here. And Beldara, she's actually going to just kind of hang out here and cover right by the entry. And then over here on this flank, Rhett is just going to move up 5 inches to try to get into a good position. And reaction rules for the first round. A couple 2s and a 3 that I can use. So I'll assign a 2 to Rhett, a 2 to Ugrok, and a 3 to Danik over here. However, before they can go, the Precursor Wanderer over here has the One with the Flow ability, which means he gets to act before my quick phase. He's going to hop off here. He has the aggressive trait, so he is going to move forward. He has a movement of 7. He could dash 9, but he doesn't want to get himself too exposed, so he will kind of hang out over here, peeking around the corner. So now for the quick phase, Danik can move 5 inches up here next to this little vehicle, and his blast rifle with its scope has a range of 20 inches, and 20 inches will let him see all the way down here to that factory worker. The enemy has cover, so Danik needs a 6. He's got a +2 combat. He gets a 1. Even though he's not aiming, his scope lets him re-roll all of his 1s, so he can re-roll that. For a total of 6 with his +2. Salvage team members have a toughness of 4, and that gets past his toughness and takes him down. And it didn't matter, but that blast rifle also deals +1 damage. And so the first worker is taken down. Next I'll have Ugrok go. He can't really get into a position where he can see any of the enemies, so he is just going to move and dash 7 inches over here. And then over to Rhett. He's just going to move a few inches around here. And from where he is, he can just barely see down here at this orange clothed worker. This is a wide open shot with his +1 combat with his auto rifle. First shot for a total of 5. That hits against a toughness of 4. Another worker is taken down. And with the second member of this factory crew going down, we will go to the enemy phase. We'll start with this guy here. And from where he is, he can see 24 inches down here, right to Ugrok. And from that angle, that is a wide open shot. They have a combat value of 0, so he needs a 5 or higher, and that misses. So the worker takes aim, but apparently hasn't had too much training with using his rifle. And next we'll go over here to this guy in the orange coveralls. And from his location, he's got a better view on Baffy than he does on Ugrok. Baffy still has cover though, so he needs a 6, and it is aimed. That misses. And then moving over to the back corner of my battlefield, over here on this transport, this trooper here will move 2 inches off, 2 inches up, and then dash 2 inches over here, trying to get some high ground. And this other one, he can move 4 inches over here and then dash another 2 inches around to right there. And now I've moved to the front side of my board, and back on that back catwalk, they have this trooper up here who can see down here, and the best shot he has is actually on Ugrok. Baffy's kind of behind this thing, and Danik is behind the corner of this. And this aimed shot needs a 6 firing into cover. That is re-rolled on a 1, and he ends up hitting. Ugrok has a toughness of 5, and he is stunned. So there's all kinds of rifle fire ricocheting off this structure. One bullet nearly hits Ugrok, but he's able to lunge back, and he's stunned. And then for my slow phase, Beldara is just going to move and dash 6 inches over here. She can't really get a good shot anywhere. And then Baffy, he's gonna run over here. He wants to go and try to set the bomb up here, but I think he would be in pretty bad shape if he tried that. But from right there, he can see up to this worker up here. Baffy has not increased his combat, so he needs just a 6. That's not an aimed shot, but he's got a second shot with the auto rifle, and that misses. Well, that was a pretty good first round. We've thinned out the enemy ranks a little bit, and we might be thinning them out a little more here on the panic rolls, but the enemy do have those powerful characters hanging out in that back corner that could spell trouble. I get to make 2 rolls, and they panic on a 1 to a 3. So one of them takes off, and it's the enemy closest to their side of the table, which is this guy up here. Apparently from where he's at, he can see this whole battlefield and realizes they're about to get overrun. So he just takes off because he's not getting paid enough for this. Reaction dice for the next round. I can use a 1 and a 3. So I'll assign the 1 to Beldara, and the 3 can only go to Danik. But before they can do anything, the precursor hanging out back here is just going to do a little bit of his 7-inch move over here to cover. And from right there, he actually has a wide open shot with his +2 combat against Danik. Which means anything but a 1 or a 2 is going to hit him. So that does hit him. He's got a toughness of 4. Alright, he defends that with his toughness. So the head security agent hops over here, fires his laser, totally taking Danik off guard. But luckily the shot misses. Danik hops back. He takes a stun, but we'll go ahead and go to the quick action phase. And he is going to fire back. And it's a good thing Danik has that quality sight that gives him +2 to his range, because this precursor is just barely within the 20 inches of that blast rifle. 1 shot into cover with +2 combat for a total of 6. That hits. The precursor has a toughness of 4, and there's a +1 damage to this. And so that hits him. However, he does have an armor save of 6+. That gets past his armor, and he has 1 point of luck. So he is going to move 4 inches in that direction. So after jumping back from that laser bolt, Danik pulls out his blast rifle and fires a bullet that just knocks a huge chunk of this rock off, and the precursor is forced to leap back out of the way. I do my directions based on the starting angle of the board, so he ends up going just 4 inches this direction. And last for my quick phase would be Beldara. She is just going to go into snapfire mode. She doesn't really want to risk getting out there somewhere where those rattlegun wielding enemies can get to her. So we'll go to the enemy phase. We'll have the soldier in the orange jumpsuit fire at Baffy. This is aimed and he needs a 6. That is a miss. Next we'll have this worker back here. Being cautious, they try to stand their ground and aim if able, so he will not run for cover, and he has a wide open shot on Ugrak. He needs a 5 or higher, and that does hit. Ugrak has his toughness of 5. That beats his toughness. He has an armor, combat armor, 5 or 6, and that gets past his armor. This area is just being peppered with bullets. Ugrak ends up taking one and going down, and there's probably going to be more with those rattlegun carrying enemies in the back. Luckily for my crew, these specialists cannot get anywhere where they can see my guys, so this one is going to move and dash 6 inches up here, and this one up here wants to get the high ground. He can move 2 inches over, 2 inches up, and when he gets right up here to the top, Beldara has a perfect view with her rattlegun, and she's just going to try to mow him down. Beldara has +1 combat now, and her nano sludge activates because she did not move, which gives her another +1. The enemy does have cover though, so she needs a 6 total. With a 5, she misses the first one. Second shot hits with that one. Against a toughness of 4, she takes him down. So this trooper comes up here expecting to be able to rain down some machine gun fire next round, but instead Beldara literally takes him out and just knocks him clear off this, eliminating one of the specialists. And then moving around to the back side of the board, moving over to Rhett's turn. He's going to move 4 inches out over here. He has stealth gear, which gives enemies -1 to hit him from a long distance, so he's not really concerned about being out in the open. And he's going to fire his auto rifle wide open at this guy. And actually there's enough random stuff in between them that I'm going to say he's got cover. So he needs a 6. He's got a +1 combat. First shot misses, and second shot also misses. And coming back around to the front of my board, last to go for my turn will be Baffy. And he's going to come right over here and try to take advantage of the fact that that precursor is just right out in the open, and he's going to fire his auto rifle. First shot needing a 5+, misses, and the second shot, he hits against the toughness of 4. He blocks that, so he does take 1 stun. So he's pushed over an inch and stunned, and then we'll do 1 panic roll for that specialist that went down. On a 1, 2, or 3, they'll take off, and 1 does. So this worker back here just had a bunch of bullets flying past him. He couldn't see where they were coming from, so he's just going to take off. So Ugrok is down, but the enemy forces are dwindling. We'll go ahead and roll up a battle event for the end of this round. And we get 84. Okay, so a fog cloud. A dense fog envelops the center of the table for the rest of the battle. It extends 6 inches in every direction and blocks all visibility past 2 inches. Alright, so I guess as Ugrok gets shot, he yells out to the crew, finish the mission, and he lobs a smoke grenade right over here to the middle, which covers the whole middle of the battlefield in smoke so that someone can get in there and get the explosives set. A lot of times when I play miniatures games, I like to use tissue to represent smoke on the battlefield. However, it makes it a little difficult to actually maneuver figures around there, especially when I'm trying to video so you guys can see what I'm doing. So instead, I'm just going to mark the 6-inch radius smoke cloud using a phone charger to represent its perimeter. And a quick rules mistake. I realized after I had already started this battle that I did not assign one of the enemies to be the team's lieutenant. So what I'm going to do now, there's only 2 regular enemies left, so I'm going to increase both of their combat skill to +1. So I guess that represents this factory worker finally figuring out how his rifle works, and this security guard here being a little better trained than usual, and that'll help him out because carrying a rattle gun, they're heavy, so he gets a -1 to hit if he moves, which makes it almost impossible with a combat of 0 to even do anything. So these guys are going to be a little tougher going forward. 4 dice for reaction rolls this round, and nothing. Everyone's going in the slow phase. And now to start out the 3rd round, since none of my characters can activate in the quick phase, we'll have the precursor. Since he's stunned, he's just going to move over here into cover and get rid of his stun. And then we'll go to the enemy phase. And this specialist is going to run up these stairs onto this catwalk. So that's 4 inches, and from there, he's got a wide open shot at Beldara. So the +1 I gave him is negated by the heaviness of the weapon, so he needs just a straight 5 or 6. First shot, misses. Second shot, also misses, not aimed. And the third shot, that hits Beldara. She has a toughness of 5, so she is hit but just takes a stun. So bullets come whizzing over, hitting all over this storage container. Beldara just kind of leaps back 1 inch and takes a stun. And then the last factory worker over here, he can't get into a good spot to shoot anybody, so instead he's going to play it safe, and he can move 6 inches inside this smoke cloud over next to this pillar. And now to the slow phase. Beldara is a bit angry. She's going to turn, and she's going to try to show this specialist how a rattle gun is supposed to be used. Since that stun caused her to move, I'm saying that triggers the -1 from the heaviness of her weapon, which is negated by her nano sludge, and she does have a +1 combat. The enemy is in cover, so she needs a 6 to land this. And to emphasize how angry she is, I'm just going to roll all 3 of these attack dice at once, and see what happens. So she ends up landing one of those, and for a toughness of 4, that gets past his toughness. So Beldara probably just about empties her rattle gun, firing up here at this specialist. One of those shots hits its mark, and another enemy goes down. And to finish out my turn, Baffy can run 8 inches over here into the fog. Unfortunately, he can't get within 2 inches of this pillar. And then Danik can move 7 inches. And Rhett over on the other side of the table can move 6 inches on a dash, which he'll actually just go right here behind this pillar. I'll make a panic roll for the last remaining worker, and since that's above a 3, he will stick around. Reactions for the next round, I can use the 1 and the 2. So I'll assign my 1 and 2 to Baffy and to Danik, but before they can go, we'll head over to the Precursor. And he can move 6 inches to this corner, and then on his dash, a total of 3 more inches. 7 inch plus a 2 inch dash right up to here. He is out in the open, but he needs to get into this smoke area. He's got a glare sword, so if he can get into close combat, he can spell trouble for my team. For my quick phase, starting with Baffy, he will move 6 inches around here to get within 2 inches of this enemy where he can see him and fire his auto rifle. That cloud only blocks line of sight beyond 2 inches, so he'll fire. The enemy does have cover, so he needs a 6 to hit. First shot hits against a toughness of 4. That takes him down. So this worker runs in here to the cover of smoke, thinking he's got some good protection, but Baffy comes running through with his auto rifle and just mows this guy down. And Danik would like to get somewhere where he can shoot at this Precursor, but he just can't do that with this smoke, so instead he's going to move and dash 6 inches over here so that he will basically be a human shield for Baffy, so that when this Precursor runs in, he will be the enemy's target. And going to the other side of the board, starting with Beldara, she can move 6 inches on a dash, which will just barely get her into the cover of this smoke cloud. And Rhett, he can move 6 inches, which will get him over here by this intersection on the conveyor belt. I'll roll up a battle event for the end of this round. 15. Well, that is interesting. Lost Heart. The enemy has had enough of this fight. At the end of the next round, they will leave the field, which I guess is good for me. Well, I think my team is in pretty good shape here at the end of round 4. With Baffy being within 2 inches of that central pillar, that means he can start securing the bomb to it. And there's only one enemy left over, but he is a tough one. And for my reaction rolls, and I guess that actually doesn't really matter because the Precursor goes before my quick phase anyway. So this Precursor security agent doesn't really know what my team has planned here, but he draws his glare sword and he's going to come charging into this smoke cloud. 7 inches can get him right into contact with Danik to start a brawl. The Precursor has a +4 with his combat skill and melee weapon, while Danik's at +3 with his combat skill and a pistol. And the Precursor wins that with a total of 7 against 6. Danik has a toughness of 4, and that gets past his toughness. And unfortunately, glare swords have the piercing trait, so they ignore armor. And I was about to call Danik dead, but he's got a point of luck, so he'll go 6 inches that direction. I base my directions on the original starting angle of the table, so that's going to go 6 inches right over here. So the guy starts swinging his glare sword, and Danik ends up having to dodge out of the way. But then we'll go ahead and go to my turn. Baffy is within 2 inches of this Precursor, so he just turns and fires his auto rifle at the guy. This is a wide open shot, so Baffy needs a 5 or a 6. First shot misses, and the second shot, that one hits against the toughness of 4. That gets past his toughness, and now for his armor save of 6+, that takes him down. So what actually happened here was Danik and Baffy had a plan all along that Danik would distract the precursor and jump out of the way just in time for Baffy to turn and fire his auto rifle and take down the precursor. Well, my thought with that last battle event was that the precursor would have run into the smoke, messed up my guys a little bit, and then realized Baffy was about to blow the place up and he would have lost heart and ran off. But Baffy had some other plans for him. Instead, he took him down, and that gives the team a chance to set up their explosives, help Ugrok up, flee the building, and watch the whole place crumble. For my post-battle activities, I won't need to resolve patron status because this is an existing patron. But for rival status, we'll go ahead and roll to see if these random factory workers end up becoming continual rivals. On a 1 they do, and they do not. This was not a quest battle, so we'll go to getting paid. And when I rolled up my danger pay, not only will I get 3 credits, but when I roll for my regular pay, I get to roll twice and choose the higher of the rolls. So my options are 6 or 4, so I get 6 credits from that, plus the 3 danger pay. And now for checking battlefield finds. And since this battle was technically against a salvage team, there's scavengers, and I get to roll twice on the battlefield finds to see what the crew found in this factory. So they get 41 and 60. So I found some starship parts that I can use to do some upgrades to Tess, and I found another personal trinket that I can potentially turn in when I go to the next planet. And these factory workers are not trying to invade this planet, so now we go to gather loot, and I get a second roll with every job I take with Talfo Yaris. We're getting 54 and 71. So I'll be getting some gear and some odds and ends. For my gear subtable, 64, and then on the following table, 62. Well, big surprise there. The 64 gets me some more protective gear, and specifically the 62 is a flak screen, which is something I don't already have. Since this is a screen, it can be combined with armor, like my combat armor. I'm not sure how useful this will be. It basically helps defend against area attacks. I think in my whole campaign so far, I've only encountered 1, maybe 2 enemies that have area-affecting weapons. But good to have nonetheless. For my odds and ends on the subtable, 56, and the specific item, 88. So that 56 just barely gets me an implant, which is something I've been interested in getting. I haven't got one of these before. However, my following roll of an 88 gets me a night sight, which is honestly probably the most boring item on here. So I'm going to spend a story point to re-roll that. And the re-roll gets me 85. So that was almost the same result, but an 85 gets me neural optimization. And this could really come in handy. The character cannot be stunned. And that implant might go to Ugrok if he survives his injury roll. He gets 75. So, same as last battle. He just gets some minor injuries, no long-term effects, and he'll basically just have to sit out the character event section of the next battle. For experience points, Ugrok gains just +1 for becoming a casualty, but everybody else gains +3. Danik was the first to inflict a casualty, so he gets a bonus experience point. And Baffy took out that precursor, giving him an additional experience point. As far as what to do with their experience, since I did so bad with my reaction rolls this battle, Danik is going to use 7 of his 9 experience points to increase his reaction to 4, and then Baffy is going to use 5 of his 6 to increase his speed up to 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and spend some money to upgrade Charlie. Each of his stats can be upgraded a total of once. So we're going to burn 7 credits to increase his reaction to 3. And we're going to burn 6 to increase his toughness to 5. And Dr. O actually still has just the toughness of 2 that he started with as a precursor. He has 6 experience points, so I will use those to increase his toughness to 3. I won't do any purchasing. I'm just going to save my remaining 6 credits, and we'll roll up a campaign event. 71. So the crew's got some downtime. They spend a night drinking, watching movies, and playing card games. They gain +1 story point. I guess maybe after completing this big mission for Talfo Yaris, the crew sits down with him and his team and gets to know each other a bit. Next, I'll roll up my character event, going with Danik, Baffy, Dr. O, Rhett, Beldara, and Ugrok. And that goes to Rhett, and his event is 40. Alright, he has earned a little bit on the side, received +2 credits. Apparently while he was going around the flank of the factory, he found something on the ground that he was able to go and sell. The next mission Talfo Yaris has for my crew will require a bit of a wait for specific events to fall into place. To represent this in the real world, there will be a delay until that video releases. If you're watching these videos as they're published, Turn 9 will be released in 3 weeks, as I've got some Frostgrave content I'll be releasing, and I'll be busy as my kids get back into school and fall activities. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss that next battle. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming. Thanks for watching, and play well.